everybody, this is Jeffa from Visually. Today I'm going to talk about some new automations that ClickUp has released. It allows you to create Google Calendar meetings, update Google Calendar meetings, and delete Google Calendar meetings. And it uses a little bit of AI, so it's pretty cool. Let's jump right into it. All right, so I am in ClickUp. I am in my Visually ClickUp implementation list. So in this list, I specifically manage meetings. That's the purpose of this list. So any onboarding calls or training calls that I need to have with my team, I am using this list to manage that. So I have 2 calls that I need to schedule, and I'm going to do them right within ClickUp, and they're going to automatically get added into my Google Calendar. And I will show you how to build the automation right after I walk through setting these up. So we have RF's onboarding call, and for this, I'm going to be on the call and RF is going to be on the call. I want this call scheduled for tomorrow at, let's do 1 p.m. and it's going to end tomorrow at 2 p.m. So I think that looks good. And here's my description. All right, and you can always jump in here and update that as well. So this is the meeting description. And then I'm going to go ahead and set the status of this meeting ticket to pending. Once I do that, this will automatically create that Google Calendar invite. So let's take a look to see if this is on my calendar. I can click on this calendar icon right up top, and this is going to take me to my Google Calendar. It's right within ClickUp, which is pretty cool. If you don't know about this feature, you can check out my video where I talk about this new feature right down over here. All right. So let's go ahead and open our calendar. All right, so I'm in my calendar now. I see that the call got scheduled. So here is the meeting event. I see that I am an attendee as well as RF. So that looks perfect. We have our timing and our name. So here is my task that's side by side because the start date, due date is the same as the event that is scheduled. So I am going to update the status of this ticket to confirmed. And what that is going to do with my automation is it's going to go into that event and set the title updated to confirmed so that RF knows that this meeting has been confirmed. So I'm going to come into the onboarding call and I'm going to set the status to confirmed. That is going to trigger my second automation that I have. It's going to search for this event in Google Calendar and it's going to update the title to RF's onboarding call confirmed. There we go. So we can see that that update went through. We have our assignees, we have our description, and we have that it's confirmed. All right, so let me show you how these automations work. And these are right natively within ClickUp, which is quite nice. So if I click on the automations button on the top right in my list view, I have 2 automations. The first automation is when the status of my meeting ticket gets changed to pending, it creates that event. When a task gets created in this view, the default status is need to schedule. When it's in the need to schedule status, I am still putting in all of my details that I need for my meeting event. I need to put the attendees for my meeting event, my start date and time, my due date and time, and my meeting description. So that's why it's important that the meeting tickets start in the need to schedule. Once I have these details filled in, I then update the status to pending. And that is what triggers my automation. So if we come back in, if we go into automation number 1, we can see that the trigger for this automation is when the status changes to pending. That is what's creating the event in our Google Calendar. So let's go ahead and just start this from scratch so you can see how this works. I hit add automation. Up top over here for my trigger, I want this for my tasks. And I want it where the status changes. For when the status changes to pending, that is what's triggering my automation. On the right-hand side for my action, this is where I put my Google Calendar integration. So it's all the way at the bottom under integrations. If I open this up, I have the option to create an event, update an event, delete an event. The 2 functions that I'm using in my 2 automations is create event, and then for my second automations is update event. So I'm going to hit create event. If you don't have an account already set, you're going to connect your account so that you set which account these events are being created from. So I have it from my Shafad Bijli, and this is going to be my Shafad Bijli calendar. So the name of the event I am setting to task name, and I put pending because when I first have it in the pending status, that event is still pending. I still need to do some internal validation to confirm that time works. So we have task name dash pending. We have the description, and that I'm going to be putting in the meeting description. I created a custom field for the meeting description, and that's what I'm pulling in. I don't have a location. I'm going to be adding the conferencing, the Google Meets conferencing. So that is what's going to be added in. For my start date, this is where I'm going to choose a field from the trigger. So what this means is whichever ticket got triggered, I'm pulling in a field from that, and it's going to be my start date. So the start date and my start time are going to be connected to the start date field. My end date and end time are going to be connected to my end date field. So fields from trigger, due date, fields from trigger, due date. And this is not an all-day event. This is not going to be repeating. If it does, you can go ahead and set to how frequently this is going to be repeating on your Google Calendar. And then here I have my attendees, and I'm going to link it to the assignees that I have. And I hit create. And that is the automation that we saw to create the events in Google Calendar. Now I'm going to disable that because we already have that. The next automation I'm going to go into is when the status changes to updated to confirmed. So over here, we can see the trigger for this automation is when the status changes to confirmed. That is what's triggering my automation. And for the action here, I want to update the event. So here again, I have my Google Calendar connected, and I am putting in the updates that I need. So let's go ahead and do this together. I'm going to hit add automation. I want this for tasks only in case that I have subtasks to manage some other work. And I want it only when the status changes to confirmed. And in my action, same thing here. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to select Google Calendar, and I'm going to hit update event. I have my account and my calendar set up. The keywords, this is how you're searching for the event. I know exactly how to search for my event. It's task name dash pending. So that makes it easy to find the event. So this is really telling the automation, hey, this is what you're looking for when you're trying to find my event. The keywords are the task name / pending. And if the event's not found, I'm going to set it to skip. So if they find the event, these are the changes that we want to take place. So what I want to do is I want to update the title name to task name dash confirmed. So it's looking for the event with the task name dash pending. So if it was RF's onboarding call, the name of the event we had was RF's onboarding call dash pending. So that's what I'm searching for. And I'm going to update the title of the meeting to RF's onboarding call dash confirmed. The description I'm not changing, so I'll leave that as is. The start date and end date I do need to add. I noticed that there were some discrepancies when these weren't in. So I'm going to do the same thing here where I'm going to add my start date and my end date. And I'm going to set it to the start date that I have on my meeting invites. So my start date and start time come from the start date. My end date and end time come from the due date. All right, and that is it. I'm going to hit create. So those are my two automations. I have when the status changes from any status to pending, it creates the event. And when the status changes to confirmed, it updates the event. So this was just a specific use case for if you have all of your calls that are being managed in one place, you're able to use this automation on different levels. So if you want to use it rather than in a list in your space for different functions, you are able to. It's pretty flexible. This was just to kind of give you an example where you are able to use automations to create Google Calendar events, to update Google Calendar events, and to delete Google Calendar events. So it's a very powerful feature if you do a lot of your scheduling and organizing right within ClickUp. I hope that you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments around this automation. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.